Miss, you're in my seat. I looked up from the train window, my heart jumping into my throat like it always did, when a man spoke to me with that firm tone. Standing over me was the tallest man I'd ever seen. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than everything I owned, and his dark eyes looked at me like he was used to people doing exactly what he said. I'm so sorry, I stammered, grabbing my small bag. My hands shook as I tried to stand up quickly. I didn't see a reservation sign. I'll move right away. Wait. His voice softened just a little. He glanced at the crumpled ticket I was clutching so hard it was leaving marks on my palm. Let me see your ticket. I handed it to him, keeping my eyes down. Marco always said I looked at other men too much. Even though Marco was hours behind me now, his voice still lived in my head. The man studied my ticket, then looked at his own. A small smile appeared on his face. The kind that looked like it didn't come out very often. Looks like the train company messed up. We both have the same seat number. You don't have to move. I'll sit across from you if that's okay. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, I said, sitting back down quickly and pressing myself against the window, like I could disappear into it. He settled into the seat across from me, his long legs barely fitting in the space. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. I kept my eyes on the dark countryside rushing past the window. It was almost midnight, and I was on a train going to a city I'd never been to, with only $300 in my pocket and no plan beyond getting as far away as possible. Running away or running towards something? He asked suddenly. I turned to look at him, surprised. What? You have that look, he said, leaning back in his seat. I've seen it before. People who are either running away from something bad or running towards something good. I'm trying to figure out which one you are. Maybe both, I heard myself say. I don't know why I said it. I never talked to strangers. Marco said strangers were dangerous and I shouldn't trust anyone but him. The man nodded slowly. That's the best answer I've heard in a long time. I'm Angelo, by the way. Mariana, I said quietly. Nice to meet you, Mariana. He pulled out his phone and started typing something. I went back to looking out the window, relieved that the conversation seemed to be over. But then the train made a horrible screeching sound. My bag flew off the seat next to me, and everything inside spilled across the floor. My clothes, my toothbrush, the envelope with my money, and worst of all, the papers from the women's shelter that had helped me leave. The papers that had the hotline number and information about getting away from abusive husbands. I dropped to my knees, trying to grab everything before he could see. But Angelo was already kneeling down, helping me pick things up. I've got it, thank you, I'm fine, I said quickly, my voice high and panicky. It's okay. Here, let me help. He handed me my clothes, carefully folded. Then he picked up the envelope with my money. He didn't look inside, just handed it right to me. But I saw his eyes catch the paper from the shelter. I snatched it from the floor and shoved everything back into my bag. When I sat back in my seat, my whole body was shaking. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry for the mess. Why do you keep apologizing? Angelo asked gently. The train stopped hard. It wasn't your fault. I didn't know how to answer that. I apologized for everything. For breathing too loud. For standing in the wrong place. For existing in a way that made Marco angry. Angelo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, the train stopped because of the storm. The conductor just announced we'll be stuck here for at least an hour, maybe more. The snow's too heavy for us to keep going safely. I looked out the window and realized he was right. Snow was falling so thick I could barely see anything beyond the glass. "Are you hungry?" Angelo asked. "The cafe car is probably still open. I could get us some coffee and sandwiches. My treat." "No, I couldn't let you do that," I said automatically. "Why not?" I didn't have a good answer. Because I don't know you." "That's fair," he said. "But we're going to be stuck here for a while. And I'm hungry. And you look like you haven't eaten in a long time. No strings attached, just food." Something about the way he said it made me believe him. Or maybe I was just so tired of being afraid. "Okay," I said. "Thank you." He smiled again, that rare smile, and stood up. "I'll be right back. Don't let anyone take my seat." While he was gone, I tried to calm my racing heart. What was I doing? I shouldn't be talking to strange men. I shouldn't be accepting food from them. Marco always said men only wanted one thing, and if I was nice to them, it meant I was being unfaithful. But Marco wasn't here. I left him. I left the apartment where he locked me inside every day. I left the life where I had to ask permission to take a shower. I was free now, even if I didn't quite know how to be free yet. Angelo came back carrying 2 cups of coffee and a bag with sandwiches. He handed me one of each and sat down. "They only had turkey or ham. I got one of each and figured you could pick," he said. "Turkey is fine, thank you." I took a small bite. It was the first food I'd had since yesterday morning. I'd been too nervous to eat. "So, Mariana," Angelo said, sipping his coffee, "what are you going to do in the city?" "Find a job," I said. "Find a place to live. Start over, I guess." "What kind of job?" I realized I didn't really know. I worked in a flower shop before I got married. I'm good with numbers and organizing things. I learn fast. "Before you got married," Angelo repeated. "But not during." I shook my head. "My husband didn't want me to work. He said a wife's place was at home." Angelo's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything mean. Instead, he asked, "Do you want to work now?" "Yes," I said, and I meant it with my whole heart. I want to have my own money. I want to be able to buy things without asking permission. I want to feel useful again. "Then you will," he said simply, like it was the easiest thing in the world. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. The train car was warm, and the coffee was hot, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt almost safe. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Sure." "Earlier, you said you'd seen that look before. The running away look. How did you know?" Angelo looked out the window at the falling snow. "My mother had that look once. I was very young, but I remember it. She was planning to leave my father. He wasn't a good man, but she died in a car accident before she could get away." "I'm so sorry," I said. "It was a long time ago," he said. "But I learned something from watching her. I learned that it takes incredible courage to leave something bad, even when you don't know if what comes next will be better. So when I see someone with that look, I respect it, and I try to help if I can." My eyes filled with tears. I blinked them back quickly. "That's very kind of you." "My employees would be shocked to hear you say that," Angelo said with a small laugh. "They call me the Ice King behind my back. They think I'm cold and ruthless." "Are you?" I asked. He thought about it. "In business, yes, I have high standards, and I don't accept excuses. But that's because I built my company from nothing, and I know what it takes to survive. Outside of business, though, I don't know. I don't really have an outside of business anymore." "That sounds lonely," I said. Angelo looked at me with surprise, like no one had ever said that to him before. "It is," he admitted. "Very lonely. But it's safer this way. People always want something. Money, connections, favors. It's easier to keep everyone at a distance." "I understand that," I said. "Keeping people at a distance to stay safe." Our eyes met and something passed between us. An understanding. We were two people who had built walls around ourselves for very different reasons, even sitting across from each other on a stopped train in the middle of a snowstorm. The train lurched forward suddenly, and we both grabbed our cups to keep them from spilling. "Looks like we're moving again," Angelo said. I felt a strange disappointment. Soon we'd reach the city, and Angelo would go back to his life and I'd go back to mine. We'd probably never see each other again. As if reading my mind, Angelo reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Listen, I know you don't know me, but I own a technology company in the city, Romano Tech. We're always looking for good people. If you need help finding a job, call this number. Ask for my assistant, Claire. Tell her I sent you." I took the card with shaking hands. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. And you don't have to call if you don't want to. But the offer's there." He stood up and grabbed his briefcase from the overhead bin. "This is my stop coming up." "Thank you," I said, holding the card like it was made of gold. "Thank you so much, Angelo." He smiled at me one more time. "Good luck, Mariana Chen. Something tells me you're going to be just fine." Then he was gone, disappearing down the aisle with his briefcase and his expensive suit. I sat there holding his business card and wondering if I'd just imagined the whole thing. The train pulled into the city 20 minutes later. I stepped onto the platform with my single bag, looking up at the tall buildings all around me. Somewhere out there was a new life waiting for me. I just had to be brave enough to find it. I tucked Angelo's card carefully into my pocket and started walking toward the exit. I didn't know it then, but that card was going to change everything. 2 weeks after arriving in the city, I was down to my last $40. The cheap motel where I'd been staying cost $30 a night, which meant I had enough money for one more night, and then I'd be sleeping on the street. I sat on the scratchy motel bed, staring at Angelo's business card. I'd looked at it 100 times, but never called. What would I even say? "Hi, remember me from the train? I'm homeless now. Can you help?" It sounded pathetic, but I was out of options. I'd gone to 12 different shops and restaurants asking for work. None of them were hiring, or they wanted people with experience I didn't have. My flower shop skills didn't matter here in the big city. With shaking hands, I picked up the motel phone and dialed the number on the card. "Romano Tech, how may I direct your call?" A cheerful voice answered. Hello. My name is Mariana Chen. Angelo Romano told me to call and ask for Claire." "Oh, yes, Mr. Romano mentioned you might call. Please hold." My heart pounded while I waited. What had Angelo told them about me? Did he remember me at all, or was I just one of 100 people he'd handed cards to? "This is Claire." A warm voice came on the line. "Mariana, Mr. Romano has been hoping you'd call. He said to bring you in for an interview as soon as possible. Are you available tomorrow at 9? "Yes," I said quickly. "Yes, I can be there." "Yes, thank you so much." Claire gave me the address and told me to dress professionally. After I hung up, I looked down at my 2 outfits. One was the jeans and sweater I was wearing. The other was a simple blue dress that was wrinkled from being in my bag. Neither was very professional. I spent my last $10 at a thrift store on a black skirt and white blouse that almost fit. Then I spent an hour in the motel bathroom, ironing them with water and prayers. The next morning, I stood in front of a huge glass building with Romano Tech written across the top in silver letters. My hands were sweating, and I felt like I might throw up. Inside, everything was shiny and modern. People rushed past, wearing expensive clothes and carrying tablets. I felt completely out of place in my thrift store outfit. You must be Mariana." Claire appeared from behind a desk. She was a short woman, with kind eyes and blonde hair pulled into a neat bun. "Come with me. Mr. Romano is ready to see you." He's doing the interview himself?" I asked nervously. "For you, yes," Claire said, with a knowing smile. She led me through hallways, filled with people working at computers and having important-sounding conversations. Finally, we stopped at a huge office with windows overlooking the whole city. Angelo sat behind a massive desk, talking on the phone. He looked up when we entered, and his whole face changed. He smiled, that rare smile, and held up one finger, asking us to wait. "I don't care what the client wants," he said into the phone, his voice hard. "The deadline is the deadline. If they can't provide the materials on time, that's their problem, not ours. Figure it out." He hung up without saying goodbye. Then he stood and walked around the desk to shake my hand. "Mariana, I'm glad you called." "Thank you for seeing me," I said quietly. "Claire, can you give us a few minutes?" Angelo asked. "Of course." Claire left, closing the door behind her. Angelo gestured to a chair. "Please sit. How have your first 2 weeks in the city been?" I thought about lying, but something about Angelo made me want to tell the truth. "Hard," I admitted. "Really hard. I've been looking for work, but nobody's hiring." "What kind of work have you been looking for?" "Anything. Waitressing, retail, cleaning. I just need something to pay for a place to live." Angelo nodded slowly. "I told you on the train that I thought you were good with numbers and organizing. Do you still think that's true?" "Yes. I used to manage all the inventory at the flower shop. I created a whole system for tracking orders and deliveries. The owner said I had a gift for it." "Perfect. I need someone to help Claire. She manages my schedule and handles a lot of administrative work, but she's completely overwhelmed. I need someone who can learn quickly, pay attention to details, and isn't afraid of hard work. The job pays $18 an hour to start, with benefits after 90 days. Are you interested?" I stared at him. $18 an hour? That was more money than I'd ever made in my life. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I'm very interested." "Good. You can start Monday. Claire will show you everything you need to know. We have a dress code. Business casual. Do you need an advance to buy work clothes?" My cheeks burned with embarrassment, but I nodded. "That would be very helpful. Thank you." Angelo wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to me. "Give this to Claire. She'll set you up with an advance on your first paycheck. Welcome to Romano Tech, Mariana." I stood up, clutching the paper. "I don't know how to thank you." "Do good work. That's all the thanks I need." He walked me to the door, and just before I left, he said quietly, "You're going to be okay here. I promise." I believed him. The next Monday, I showed up at 7:30 in the morning, wearing a new gray dress and black shoes I'd bought with the advance. Claire taught me how to use the computer system, how to answer phones, and how to organize Angelo's crazy schedule. The work was hard, but I loved it. For the first time in years, my brain felt awake. I was learning new things every day, and I was good at it. Claire kept telling me she didn't know how she'd managed without me. Angelo was different at work than he'd been on the train. He was intense and demanding. He expected perfection from everyone, and he didn't smile much. People jumped when he walked by. In meetings, his voice could cut through someone's excuse like a knife. But with me, he was always a little gentler. He never yelled when I made mistakes. He just explained what I did wrong and showed me the right way to do it. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me from his office, and he'd nod encouragingly before going back to his work. 3 weeks into the job, I made my first big mistake. Angelo had an important meeting with investors. He and I was supposed to print out 50 copies of a presentation, but I printed the wrong version, an old draft instead of the final one. I didn't realize until Angelo was already in the conference room, handing them out. My coworker Derek, who worked in marketing, saw me frantically reprinting the correct version. "You messed up the investor presentation?" he asked loudly. "Oh man, you're so fired. Angelo's going to lose it." Other people looked over. Someone whispered, "The Ice King's going to freeze her out." My hands shook so badly, I could barely hold the papers. This was it. I was going to lose my job, lose my apartment, end up on the street, and I deserved it for being so stupid and careless. The meeting ended, and Angelo came out of the conference room. His face was hard and angry. "Mariana, my office, now." I followed him, my whole body trembling. This was just like when Marco would call me into the bedroom after I'd done something wrong. I knew what came next: the yelling, the accusations, the punishment. Angelo closed the door and turned to face me. I couldn't look at him. I stared at the floor, waiting. "Mariana, look at me, please." I forced myself to look up. His face wasn't angry anymore. It was concerned. "What happened with the presentation?" he asked. "I printed the wrong version," I whispered. "I'm so sorry. I should have double-checked. I should have been more careful. It's completely my fault, and I understand if you want to fire me. I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out faster and faster, and I realized I was crying. Not just a few tears, but real sobs that I couldn't control. "Mariana, stop," Angelo said gently. He handed me a box of tissues from his desk. "You're not getting fired. It was a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes." "But the investors saw the wrong numbers. I ruined your meeting." "The investors didn't notice because I caught it right away and told them we were looking at preliminary figures before we got to the finals. It's fine." The meeting went well. He sat on the edge of his desk, looking at me carefully. "Why are you so scared?" "Because when I mess up, bad things happen," I said, before I could stop myself. Angelo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Mariana, I need you to understand something. Yes, I have high standards. Yes, I expect my team to do their best. But I'm not going to hurt you for making a mistake. That's not who I am." "I know," I said, wiping my eyes. "I'm sorry. I know you're not like him. Your husband." I nodded miserably. Angelo's hands clenched into fists, but his voice stayed calm. "What was his name?" "Marco. Marco Chen." "And if Marco were here right now, what would he have done when you made a mistake?" I didn't want to answer, but somehow I did. "He would have yelled, told me how stupid I am. Sometimes he'd punish me by not letting me eat dinner. Once he locked me in the closet for 3 hours because I forgot to buy his favorite bread." Angelo closed his eyes like he was in pain. When he opened them again, they were fierce. "Listen to me very carefully. You are not stupid. You are intelligent and capable, and you're learning a completely new job. Mistakes are part of learning, and no one has the right to punish you for being human. Do you understand?" "Yes," I whispered. I mean it, Mariana. If anyone in this office treats you badly, you come tell me immediately. That includes me. If I ever make you feel scared or small, I want you to tell me, because that's not the kind of boss I want to be. Okay, I said. Thank you. Now go wash your face and take a 15-minute break. When you come back, I want you to set up a system to double-check important documents before they're printed. Can you do that? Yes, I can do that. Good. I trust you, Mariana. You're doing a great job. I left his office feeling like the world had just shifted under my feet. Someone had seen me mess up, and instead of punishing me, they'd trusted me to fix it. It was the strangest, most wonderful feeling. But the day wasn't over yet. That afternoon, I was at the copy machine when Derek walked by. Well, well, Ice King's little pet didn't get fired after all. What did you do? Cry your way out of it? Leave me alone, Derek, I said quietly. Did you tell him some sob story about your sad life? Is that how you got this job? Because we all know you're not qualified. That's not true, I said, but my voice shook. Please, you're nobody. You're just some charity case he picked up to feel good about himself. Derek leaned closer, and I could smell coffee on his breath. You don't belong here with real professionals. You should go back to whatever trailer park you came from. Is there a problem here? Angelo's voice cut through the room like ice. Derek jumped back. No, sir. Just having a friendly chat. It didn't sound friendly. Angelo walked closer. Even though Derek was tall, Angelo was taller. And right now, he looked absolutely terrifying. It sounded like you were harassing my employee. Is that what was happening? I was just joking around, Derek said nervously. Really? Because I heard you say she doesn't belong here. I heard you call her a charity case. Those don't sound like jokes to me. They sound like bullying. Mr. Romano, I didn't mean... You're fired, Angelo said flatly. Clear out your desk. Security will escort you out. Derek's face went white. You can't fire me over a joke. I can fire you for any reason I want, but I'm firing you specifically for creating a hostile work environment and harassing a coworker. You have 30 minutes to leave the building. Derek looked at me with pure hate in his eyes, but he didn't say anything else. He just walked away, his shoulders tight with anger. The whole office had gone silent. Everyone was staring. Angelo raised his voice so everyone could hear. Let me make something clear. This is a professional workplace. We treat each other with respect. I don't care what your position is. If you bully, harass, or belittle anyone on this team, you will be gone. Are we understood? Everyone nodded. Good. Get back to work. People scattered quickly. Angelo turned to me. Are you all right? You didn't have to fire him because of me, I said quietly. Yes, I did. Nobody talks to my people that way. Come on. Let's go back to the office. Once we were alone again, Angelo poured me a glass of water. Mariana, I need you to promise me something. What? If anyone else treats you like that, you tell me immediately. Not later, not when it's convenient. Right away. Why? I asked. Why do you care so much? Angelo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because on that train, you reminded me that there's more to life than balance sheets and board meetings. You reminded me what it's like to hope for good things. And because I see how hard you work and how brave you are, and I think you deserve to be treated with kindness. Is that okay? My heart was beating so fast. Yes, I said. That's okay. Something had changed between us in that moment. Something neither of us was ready to name yet. But we both felt it, hanging in the air like the first warm day after a long winter. I went back to my desk, and Angelo went back to his office. And we both tried to pretend that everything was still the same as it had been that morning. But it wasn't. And we both knew it. The next few weeks felt like a dream. Every morning, Angelo and I started the day with coffee in his office. We'd talk about the schedule, but also about other things. Books we were reading, funny things that happened, little pieces of our lives. I learned that Angelo hated mushrooms, but loved spicy food. That he'd built his company from a tiny startup in his garage to this huge building with 200 employees. That he worked 16-hour days because he didn't know what else to do with his time. He learned that I'd always wanted to learn to paint. That I was scared of thunderstorms because Marco used to lock me outside during them. That my favorite thing in the whole world was the smell of fresh flowers. One day I came to work and found a small bouquet of daisies on my desk with a note. Everyone deserves flowers. I cried right there at my desk. Happy tears this time. Claire noticed how much time I spent in Angelo's office. "You know," she said one afternoon, "I've worked for Mr. Romano for 6 years. I've never seen him smile as much as he does when you're around." "We're just friends," I said quickly. "Mm-hmm," Claire said with a knowing look. "Just friends. That's why he fired Derek the second he was mean to you. That's why he checks to make sure you've eaten lunch every day. That's why he walks you to your car every night to make sure you're safe." "He's just being kind," I protested. "Honey, Mr. Romano is a lot of things, but kind is not usually one of them. You're different. You make him different." I didn't know what to say to that, so I changed the subject, but Claire's words stayed with me. Was Angelo different with me? And more importantly, how did I feel about him? I knew I cared about him. I looked forward to our morning coffee talks. I felt safe when he was around. When he smiled at me, my whole day felt brighter. But was that love? I didn't know. I'd thought I loved Marco once, and look how that turned out. How could I trust my own feelings? 2 months after I started working at Romano Tech, everything fell apart. I was at my desk when Claire came running over, her face pale. "Mariana, there's a man in the lobby asking for you. He says he's your husband. Security won't let him up, but he's causing a scene." My whole body went cold. "Marco's here?" "You know him." I couldn't breathe. Marco had found me. After all this time, he'd tracked me down. My hands started shaking so badly, I had to put down the pen I was holding. "Mariana," Claire touched my shoulder gently. "Should I call the police?" I don't. I couldn't form words. The walls were closing in. Marco was here. Marco was going to take me back. He'd said he'd kill me if I ever tried to leave, and now he was going to make good on that promise. Angelo came out of his office. One look at my face, and he knew something was terribly wrong. "What happened?" "Her husband is in the lobby," Claire said quietly. "Security has him contained, but he's making threats." Angelo's whole body went rigid. "Stay here," he said to me. Then to Claire, "Don't let her leave this floor." He headed for the elevator, and I found my voice. "Angelo, wait. He's dangerous. He'll hurt you." Angelo turned back, and his face was absolutely calm. "No, he won't. Trust me, Mariana. I'm going to handle this." He was gone before I could argue. I sat at my desk, shaking. Claire sat next to me, holding my hand. Other coworkers pretended to work, but kept glancing over at us. 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. Finally, Angelo came back. His face was hard as stone, but his eyes were gentle when he looked at me. "He's gone. Security escorted him off the property. I've filed for a restraining order on behalf of the company." He's not allowed within 500 feet of this building or you." "What did he say?" I whispered. "Nothing worth repeating. The important thing is he's gone, and he won't be back." But I knew Marco. I knew he didn't give up that easily. "He'll come back," I said. "He always comes back. He says I belong to him, and he always finds what belongs to him." Angelo knelt down next to my chair so he could look me in the eyes. "You don't belong to anyone, Mariana. You're a free person with your own life, and I promise you, I will not let him hurt you." "You can't promise that," I said, tears running down my face. "You don't know what he's like." "Then tell me. Tell me everything." So I did. Right there in the office, with Claire and Angelo listening, I told them everything. About how Marco had been charming at first. How he'd slowly isolated me from my friends and family. How he'd started with small controls. What I wore, where I went. Then bigger ones, taking my phone, locking me inside, hitting me when I asked questions. I told them about the night I finally left, how Marco had gone to a bar and I'd packed one bag and run. Just how I'd been terrified every day since that he'd find me. When I finished, I felt empty and exhausted. Angelo stood up. His hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. "I want you to take the rest of the day off," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "I'm going to drive you home and make sure you're safe. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to my lawyer about getting you real protection. Not just a restraining order, but actual legal help. Okay?" I nodded, too tired to argue. Angelo drove me to my small apartment in his expensive car. He walked me upstairs and checked every room, every closet, even under the bed. Then he made me promise to keep the door locked and not open it for anyone. "I'll be okay," I said, even though I didn't believe it. Angelo hesitated at the door. "Mariana, there's something I need to tell you." "What?" He ran his hand through his hair, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. "That day on the train, when I first saw you, something inside me woke up. Something I thought was dead. For years, I've kept everyone at a distance because it was safer. But with you, I don't want distance. I want—" He stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. "You want what?" I asked softly. "I want to be the person who keeps you safe. I want to be the person who makes you smile. I want—" He took a deep breath. "I want you to know that you're not alone anymore. Whatever happens with your husband, whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it by yourself." My heart was pounding. "Angelo, I can't eat. I'm not ready for— I don't even know who I am without someone controlling me. I'm broken." "You're not broken," he said fiercely. "You're healing. There's a difference. And I'm not asking you to be ready for anything. I'm just asking you to let me be here, as your friend, as your— whatever you need me to be." "Why?" I asked. "Why would you want to deal with all my mess?" "Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human, instead of just a machine that works all the time. Because you're brave and kind and smart, and you deserve to have someone in your corner. Because—" He paused, then said quietly, "Because I think I'm falling in love with you, and I've never said that to anyone before." I started crying again. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of my feelings. I'm scared of Marco. I'm scared that I don't know how to be loved the right way because Marco taught me all the wrong ways." Angelo reached out slowly and took my hand. "I'm scared too," he said. "I've never felt this way about anyone. I don't know how to do this any better than you do, but maybe we can figure it out together. Maybe we can both learn." I looked at our hands together. His was so much bigger than mine. But he held on gently, like I was something precious. "Okay," I whispered. "We can try. But you have to promise me something." "Anything." "Promise me you'll tell me if I'm too much trouble. If my problems get too big. Promise you won't stay out of pity." "I promise," he said. "But that's never going to happen. You're not too much of anything. You're exactly right." He left soon after, making me promise 3 more times to keep the door locked. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Angelo had said. He was falling in love with me. Someone kind and successful and good wanted to be with me, broken pieces and all. The next morning, Angelo picked me up and took me to meet his lawyer. Together, we filed for a divorce from Marco and got a real restraining order with court papers and everything. The lawyer said it might take a few months, but I would be free. Free. What a beautiful, terrifying word. Over the next few weeks, Angelo kept his promise. He didn't push me for anything I wasn't ready for. We kept having our morning coffee. We kept talking about everything and nothing. But now, sometimes, he'd hold my hand, or he'd brush a strand of hair out of my face. Small touches that made me feel safe instead of scared. One Saturday, Angelo took me to a park by a lake. We walked along the water, feeding bread to the ducks. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. My breath caught. "Angelo?" "It's not what you think," he said quickly. "Just open it." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small bird charm. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "It's a promise," Angelo said softly. "Not a cage, but a promise. A promise that you can always fly free. That I'll support you, but never hold you back. That your wings are your own." I couldn't speak. I just nodded as he put the necklace around my neck. "Mariana, I know you're still healing. I know you're scared. But I want you to know something." He cupped my face gently in his hands. "I love you. Not because I pity you, or because I want to fix you. I love you because you're strong and brave, because you make me want to be better. Because when I imagine my future, you're in it." "I love you too," I said, and I meant it with my whole heart. "I'm still scared, and I'm still figuring things out. But I love you, Angelo Romano." He kissed me then, soft and gentle by the lake, as the sun set behind us. It was nothing like the kisses Marco used to demand. This kiss felt like a question and an answer all at once. It felt like coming home. We stood there holding each other as the sky turned pink and orange. Two people who had both been running from their pasts, now choosing to walk together toward the future. It wasn't perfect. I still had nightmares sometimes. I still flinched at loud noises. Some days I still felt broken. But Angelo was patient. He reminded me every day that I was strong, that I was worthy of love, that I was free. 6 months later, the divorce was final. I was no longer Mariana Chen. I went back to my maiden name, Mariana Santos. A new name for a new life. Angelo threw a small party to celebrate. Just me, him, and Claire. We ate cake and laughed, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt happy. That night, Angelo drove me home. At my door, he said, "I have a question." "What?" "I know it's fast. I know you might not be ready, but I have to ask." He took a deep breath. "Would you maybe want to move in with me? Not because you need to, but because I want to wake up every morning and see your face. Because I want to build a life with you." I thought about it. A year ago, I would have been terrified. But now, standing here with Angelo looking at me with such hope and love, I wasn't scared. "Yes," I said. "I want that too." Angelo smiled that rare, beautiful smile and kissed me again. I moved in the next month. Angelo's house was huge, but he let me decorate however I wanted. I filled it with flowers and paintings I'd started making. I turned one room into an art studio where I could paint. At work, I got promoted to office manager. Angelo said it was because I was good at my job, not because we were together. I believed him. We weren't perfect. We had arguments sometimes. I still had bad days where I couldn't shake the fear. But Angelo was always there, patient and loving, reminding me that I was safe. 1 year after we met on that train, Angelo took me back to the station. We sat in the same car, in the same seats. 1 year ago, I was running away, I said. Now look at me. Now you're running toward something, Angelo said, taking my hand. Toward the life you deserve. We both are, I said, squeezing his hand. Together. And we were. Two broken people who found each other in the middle of a storm and learned how to heal together. Learned how to love the right way. Learned that real love doesn't trap you. It sets you free. Did you love Mariana and Angelo's story? I write romance stories every week about people who find love when they least expect it. Subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Drop a comment below and tell me what you loved most about this story, or what kind of romance you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for reading, and remember, you deserve a love that sets you free.